From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
The Open Mic Show. Chris, thank you for putting me on. This is the Open Mic Show, 97.9 FM, WHAV. Now, I don't see us on Channel 22. I know they're going to preempt us Labor Day, but I don't think it came this early, so Chris will check on that. Meanwhile, I want to let you know that have you ever wondered who it is that checks the door to make sure that it can be opened when a person in a wheelchair or crutches has to come through, or make sure it's not so heavy that it's hard to push? We've all run into that, haven't we? A door that really you have to be Superman to push open. Well, you know who checks those things are members of the Disabilities Commission in Haverhill, among others. And so coming on the program tonight, Joyce Thibodeau and Fran Hogan from the Haverhill Disabilities Commission to talk about how those things are checked, who does it, how it's done, and what happens when they find a problem. And we'll ask them all kinds of questions and take your calls. I know this is a subject that Brian has mentioned, a frequent caller to the program, as a concern. Matter of fact, this group has been so effective that a couple months ago, a story ran on WHAV, maybe it wasn't even that long ago, about the door that leads from the Railroad Square parking garage operated by the Merrimack Valley Regional Transit Authority over to the train station. Well, now, apparently it was in compliance because that building is not that old, but old enough to have missed the latest regulations. And this group put out an appeal. You can read about it at WHAV.net if you missed it. This group put out an appeal. This woman put out an appeal. And apparently it's being fixed. Maybe it's been fixed by now. So there's now an automatic door opener. But if you approach this thing in, say, a scooter, you couldn't possibly open the door. So that's one of the things that the Commission on Disabilities in Haverhill has looked at, continues to look at, and we're going to talk to, again, Joyce Thibodeau and Fran Hogan tonight about those types of things. Now, meanwhile, that'll be around 7 o'clock or after the news. But meanwhile, what we usually do with this program is many of you are celebrating a birthday or a wedding anniversary in September. Here it is, August 21st. We have a little bit of time left. We work a month ahead. So your loved one, your friend, your colleague can invite you over for a piece of cake if you would only nominate them. And all you have to do is call the Open Mic Show, 978-374-1900, and just say happy birthday or happy anniversary. And the name will be placed into a hat, literally, and we'll draw the winner the last Monday of this month, which I guess would be next week. And they could win a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albee Second Generation Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. Really, really easy. Just come on the air. Chris will take your information, so you don't have to give out last names. Chris will take your information and the address of the recipient, and if the person wins, they'll receive a letter from WHAV. It's all very simple. Now, we don't have any other contests right now. Sometimes we invent them on the fly, but maybe you'd be interested. By the way, are you looking for work? Well, the IRS is hiring in Andover. You may have heard an announcement on WHAV. It was on all day today. And the IRS is making it easy for you to apply for work. Just register and apply online at www.jobs.irs.gov. So maybe your future is with the IRS, and on the good side of that question. All right, and then yes, we do have a birthday entry that's coming when our guests arrive, and let's make sure we deal with that one. I have a note here, and we'll deal with that one. All right, now. Last week, let's see, did it happen in time yet? No, it was after last week's Open Mic Show. But candidates had until last Thursday to choose if they were going to really run for elected office or not. And this is an unusual year because we have people who are running for city council and school committee that are also running for state representative. That surprise announcement that Representative Brian Dempsey made a while back now that he is leaving the legislature in September. Well, this kicked off quite a bit of activity, people looking at running. There's still time, by the way, to seek the office. Those nomination papers aren't due. But the deadline for withdrawing from either Haverhill School Committee or Haverhill City Council was last Thursday. And so we have, and you know what, this is an opinion show. I don't disagree with Councilor Andy Vargas or school committee member Paul Magliacchetti for staying in both races. Now, it creates a problem if one wins both seats and has to give up one. But, it's an unknown. We haven't had a state rep election of any kind of magnitude in quite some time. Representative Brian Dempsey has served Haverhill well and for a very long time. Really haven't had that many state reps in 30, 40 years. There was Dempsey, there was Frank Emilio, and there was Fran Bevilacqua, all powerful forces for Haverhill on Beacon Hill. But now, there's still time for other people to run, and it might be a shame if someone were to give up a seat where they serve the city and then lose the state rep race. So I really don't fault the candidates for running for both seats. Now, some people are giving a lot of credit to, and I have no disagreement with this either, a lot of people are giving credit to school committee member Sean Toohey. He is not going to seek a local seat. He is running for the Republican nomination for state rep. Now, I can see how that could be an advantage if you're trying to keep your head clear. You've got to knock on doors. You've got to tell people which race you're running in. It's less confusing if you don't have to list a whole bunch of things. So I wonder what your opinion is on that. Open lines until our guests come at 7 o'clock, 978-374-1900. Okay, let's take the call on Chris's side in Master Control. You are on the Open Mic Show. Let's take the call. All right, make sure you listen to your phone, not your radio, because of the delay. Okay, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, yes. Well, I think I recognize this voice.
Wonderful. You made a comment last week, which I couldn't get on to talk to you about. That what was the one serious problem these councilors are going to have? And the 6 cockroaches or the 5 cockroaches that went for their pay hike, which was the 3rd pay hike, I think it destroys them as city councilors. What do you think?
Ah, that's interesting. Well, I have to say, okay, this is complicated, but I was actually in the city council office 30 years ago. It's hard to believe. It's been 30 years.
You and I were there 30 years ago. Go ahead.
That's right. Okay, so you were probably there too. But do you remember who made the motion to increase the council salary? It was Councilor Herbert Goki. No, actually, no. In the office. Later on, it came up in the council chambers.
Right.
But Councilor Goki, and at the time, I think the councilors received $3,000.
Plus expenses, yeah.
He brought it up to $8,000. And then something funny happened this year. And, of course, I think we knew this. You knew this for sure 30 years ago. But the IRS says you can't get an expense reimbursement if you have no expenses.
Which is true.
So if you get the money and you don't have receipts, then we're going to call it income. We're not going to call it an expense reimbursement, and you have to pay taxes on it. Okay, but if you included part of salaries, then suddenly you are also increasing the pension, because city councilors and school committee members and the mayor are eligible for city pensions. So now there are people saying, well...
They get Blue Cross and Blue Shield for nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a good point. They get health insurance. Actually, that's a good question. Is it for nothing, or do they have to contribute, or what?
They don't contribute a cent towards it.
Oh, I don't know that I knew that. So they don't contribute at all to that.
That's from what I heard. They do not pay a cent towards it. That's part of the benefits.
I wonder if anyone else has that for sure. But if they don't pay anything, and now, okay, for the first time in 30 years, they got a raise. They're
Because Basic cried. Basic was the instigator behind the pay raise. I remember when Goki and Ballman and Rice, they used to run for the people of the city. They could care less about the money. All of a sudden now, in the past year, everything's money. Well, the Messiah is no longer going to be in Haverhill, Dempsey, to give the money. They're each going to get $15,000 a year, which is $300 a week for what, 5 hours work, 7 hours work tops, okay? Which comes to $135,000 to the 9 of them. That's $260,000 over 2 years. Do you think rightfully the city can't use that money for something else?
well, okay. You know, I think.
And they all got good jobs besides.
I mean, I think you raise a point that many people will agree with you on. And I guess what I was asking last week, and if we missed your call, I apologize, but what I was asking last week, and and let me know if you agree or disagree with this, but Haverhill is at a crossroads. We're going to be determining very soon whether or not we are going to remain a city that, with people with fixed incomes, can comfortably pay their taxes, water, and sewer bills, or we're going to be a city, and I'm not advocating either side, although it's starting to sound like that, or we're going to be a city where we have the best schools, all the technology those schools will need, like hunking, every school being a hunking. And we're going to have more police officers because we have had 3 murders this year. We're going to have, well, so there's the crossroads. So are Haverhill people willing to pay more and receive more, or it doesn't matter whether they receive it, they just don't have the money to pay it?
I don't think they have the money to pay it.
And so there we have this interesting phenomenon, and I went on a little bit of a rant at the end of last week's show. Some people say, hey, I want Haverhill to be a Newburyport. Well, I don't want Haverhill to be a Newburyport. I don't want a phony economy with stores that are open only in the summer and then they're boarded up all winter and then a whole new group comes in. I mean, the economy is as weak as the sand Newburyport is built on, as I said last week. So I don't know if you agree with me, but I don't want Haverhill to be a Newburyport. I want to be able to afford to live here.
Well, it's getting out of hand.
Now, how much? Now, there are. Okay.
Remember, he's got to make up $2 million on the pension fund of the Yale Hospital, which they screwed up years ago. Okay, which the board of directors lied to the people of the city of Haverhill. They said, "Oh, we're already $45 million in debt." I told them they were full of crap. There was $75 million in debt. Turned out they were $75 million in debt. They had the best Alzheimer's hospital in the country in Glen, the first. And they blew it. Sold it for next to nothing.
Now, can I tell people who I'm talking with?
I don't care. You're coming on my show the 31st at 5:30.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that. I'll have to look at that. But so, folks, this is Groucho Marx. No, it's Stan Colton. And no, actually, what's your show going to be about?
I want to talk to you about this and a couple other things of the people running.
Well, you know, part of the problem.
And I got something privately I can't say over the air that I want you to get if you know how to manipulate it. You're a pretty sharp boy anyhow.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I guess one of the problems I have is that I also do day-to-day news here, and I don't really want to show some of my views because, well, then people will think it affects the news. I assure you it doesn't. But I don't want people to think that. But I will say there are. Let me ask you if you agree with this. There are some city councilors who work many more hours than others. Should they get something for that? What do you think?
No, it's part of their job. They took the job to work 24 hours a day for the citizens of Haverhill. They get paid for it now very nicely. What about the lower people on the bottom of the ladder of City Hall that they make it $300 a week for 40 hours? These guys aren't working 40 hours. The girls aren't working 40 hours a week.
Well, I mean, I think I'm not sure if it's 40, but I think there are a couple of them who show up at every city event.
Two of them. Page and possibly Mason, now that he doesn't have his broadcasting company.
All right. So, I mean, I think some of them, now, I guess it's up to the voters, and the voters are going to decide. The voters are going to decide whether or not they think it's worth that, whether, I mean, let me ask you this. It's a hypothetical question, doesn't reflect my views at all. Do you think we get better candidates if we pay them, or no?
I think if a candidate wants to run for any one of the offices, okay, they're doing it because they have their heart and soul in the city, and they're not running it for money. Money's not at the head. Their job is to take care of the residents of the city.
All right. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who agree with you. I'm not sure whether. I mean, we'll know how voters feel when they vote.
And you personally think it's right for them to run for two jobs. I don't. What about the other 14 people that are running for city council for one job? You got Vargas running for two jobs with a 50-50 deal with names out there. If I don't get one, I get the other. Do you think it's fair to the other 14 candidates?
Well, okay. As far as the other candidates go, we know what happens if there's a vacancy. The next highest vote getter moves up. So, but the real problem is whether or not this. And you know this better than I do. I don't think we do a special election if it's city council or school committee, right? So they'll just move up the next highest vote getter.
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, if they run, they could still move up, so I'm not sure. But I know your point. And I have to say that if I were in their shoes, maybe I'd wrestle with it. Because I don't know who else is going to run. And maybe. Let's just say you ran for state rep, and you still have time to take out papers, by the way. Maybe one of the other candidates would say, Stan running, I'm out.
Will you endorse me? Will you pay my expenses?
So maybe they would do that. Maybe they would bow out. So that's why let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they're really waiting for Stan Colton to run for state rep.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'll tell you, Vargas hasn't got Dempsey's book of how to win, okay, and he needs extra policy before he should really run. I'll take him apart in my show the 31st, but go ahead.
Well,
I want you to come on afterwards. I have some questions for you to help you out in future adventures.
Now I have a question for you. Are you participating in the Haverhill Democratic City Committee debate that's going to take place at HC Media?
When's that?
I don't have the date in front of me, but I
know there's a breakfast the 9th of September.
I believe this is a Monday night because we're going to preempt open mic for it. And I was asked, and I think the Eagle Tribune was asked, and I think HC Media was asked to have people ask questions. So I was wondering, maybe you're the representative from HC Media because you certainly have run for office before. You had a history-making election.
Nothing has been said to me as a board of director. I haven't heard a thing about it.
All right. Well, I got info.
I know I'm having, like I did last year, I'm having a round table in October with all the councilors that are left, all the school committee people left, and all the representatives. And I let them pick out their questions, and I ask them, and I let them go at each other, like I did last year.
Yeah, I mean, that is a real debate. That's not a forum. That's a real debate. Now, the League of Women Voters, I believe, are also having a local debate. And I have to say, I hope the voters are paying attention this year, because...
Well, I think they got to pay attention. They need someone to replace Dempsey. You got to get a good candidate in there that knows his way around.
Let me ask you this. Are you surprised that there has been relatively little interest?
Yeah, right now I am. I can't believe it.
I thought like 10 people would run.
Well, I heard a bunch of people drew papers and then withdrew from it.
Well, actually...
I figured you were going to run for representative.
No, I'm too busy running a radio station without pay.
Yeah, I understood that. I realized that, but I said you would have been a good candidate for it.
Well, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me, actually. You know,
I haven't heard anything. I know I'm holding my event between who's ever Republican or Democrat for that round table I ran like last year. I'm running it again this year on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, you're a good civil servant of sorts because you don't get paid, but you do all this work. You want the voters to know the issues, and I think that's invaluable to society. Democracy doesn't work unless there are people like you asking the tough questions.
Well, you're going to ask the tough questions, but a lot of people are chicken to answer them.
Well, I think you're right about that, too. So I really appreciate the call. And I want you on this program, too, because we have so much more to talk about, but I'm out of time. I've got to...
All right, let me know about the 31st.
I'm gonna write myself a note right now. You mean next? Okay. It's about 10 days from now.
Send your emails.
What's that?
Quimby has sent you emails for me because I don't have a computer.
All right, let me check those emails and check on that. August 31st, and
the last Thursday of this month.
Okay, let me. I just made a note to myself to check my calendar, and I appreciate the opportunity to go on your program.
And then I'll
Stan.
Reciprocate with you.
All right, then we'll have you on here. I appreciate that, Stan. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot for listening.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, bye.
All right, we have to take a brief break, really about a minute, but I know we have callers waiting, so please hang on your phones, folks. This is 97.9 FM WHAV. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic in just a minute.
Open Mic! Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Try listening to WHAV in your car or anywhere on your mobile phone. For fast access, visit WHAV.net.
Catch the wave!
Hi, Tom Bergeron here. I started at WHAV in 1972. And look, WHAV's still here, but it won't be if you don't help support it. Go to WHAV.net. Become a contributor. Keep us going.
WHAV Open Mic. From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
5 minutes before the hour of 7. If you're just tuning in, I want to let you know that we have some great guests coming up here on the Open Mic Show after the 7 o'clock news. We have Fran Hogan and Joyce Thibodeau, members of the Commission on Disabilities in Haverhill. They're going to be answering lots of questions and demonstrating, I believe, some of the techniques they use to determine whether or not there is appropriate handicapped access. So we can't wait for that. But we have a caller on the phone. Let's put you on the air. You're on the air.
Hello.
All right, you got beat out this time. You're not the first caller.
Well, that's okay. I won't be long, but I will be listening. And, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, one of the commission members started asking me again about a letter of resignation. That is, resignation from the Commission on Disability Issues.
You don't want to do it formally?
Well, when I was working, and that was like half for the commission and half for the city of Haverhill itself, I was told by my boss, Vinnie Willett, that his boss, at that time it was Mayor James Rorak, said, well, you're off the commission. Okay.
Oh, so this goes that far back.
January of '98.
Okay, wow.
And I told the mayor that himself. He called me one day several months ago, and I said, well, it doesn't affect any quorums or anything like that, because I was never counted, even though I would volunteer my time and attend meetings. That I was laid off by the city so that they could save millions of dollars, But I was laid off in August of 2003.
Oh, okay. There was a lot of layoffs around that time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, let me ask you this: is that if you were on the commission, I mean, is one of the issues, frankly, that it's difficult to get around and that kind of thing, or is it no offense? You weren't treated well in the past, so you're not going to do it, or what's the deal?
Oh, I was treated very well.
Oh, okay, you were. All right.
Well, it depends on what we're looking at any specific time. But, I remember talking to one of the repair people on the elevator at the Citizen Center, and I asked him about the audio things as the thing would traverse the floors, and he said to me, this is not the right time to be asking me that question.
Oh, not the right time to... I can hardly hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, he talked to me like I was a child. He said, this isn't the time to ask me that question.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
And then later on, his boss, I don't know who he was, some guy in a suit, stepped into my office, and he was talking to me like I was about 5, Well, things like that happen. But I just kind of shrugged it off,
Oh, well, that's not very, very professional.
No, it's not professional. Sometimes, professionalism just goes out the window. But,
well, we always respect your viewpoints here on the show because you are so filled with information. I remember the great stadium parking scandal.
and I hope that's all squared away now. But
I actually haven't heard from Safety Officer Dave whether or not he's had any trouble, but I think it was squared away. But that's a good question. We'll ask Safety Officer Dave for a follow-up.
Yeah.
Actually, he might be interested in our guest coming on, too. And do you know both of them, Fran Hogan and Joyce Thibodeau?
I sure do.
All right. So, well, maybe we'll see. Anything else on your mind? Any birthdays, anything?
No, nothing like that. I've got 4 entries in right now.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to be sitting on the side here listening to the program. And if you need me for anything, let me know.
All right, we'll do that. We'll do that for sure. Matter of fact, Chris has your number, so we can even bring you in if we need to.
All right.
All right, thank you very much, Brian, and really appreciate your participation as always on the Open Mic Show.
Have a good program.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was over here. Okay, I believe we're at news time. I'm on schedule. Let's go to local news. We'll be back with Joyce Thibodeau and Fran Hogan here on the Open Mic Show.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:01.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. A 20-year-old Haverhill man was arrested early Thursday morning for allegedly breaking into Groveland and Boxford homes, leading police on a chase in one stolen car and finally crashing a second stolen car into a tractor-trailer in Haverhill. Carson Hamilton was charged with burglary, larceny, receiving stolen property, failure to stop, driving a motor vehicle without authority, driving after license suspension, reckless driving to endanger, and speeding, Groveland Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen said Friday. Here it gets complicated, so follow closely. Groveland Police Department received a report of a man inside a home at 1:30 a.m. on Parker Road. A resident said a purse was stolen by a white man in a black hooded sweatshirt who broke in through a backsliding door. A man fitting the description was seen later with 3 other men on Pinewood Lane. When spotted by Officer Adam Sanborn, the men fled on foot. The man, later said to be Carson, ran down Clark Road. Soon after, Sanborn noticed a blue SUV with New Hampshire plates speeding along Parker Road. The SUV, later determined to be stolen, sped through a traffic stop on Main Street, heading toward Haverhill. Boxford and State Police and an Amesbury Police K-9 unit joined in after the vehicle stopped in Lily Pond Road in Boxford. Hamilton was caught by the K-9 unit after he allegedly stole another car in Haverhill and crashed into a tractor-trailer on Route 125 in Haverhill. He was taken to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries and then arrested by Haverhill Police. It'll cost the city a little more than $9,000 to protect itself from the possibility that an employee in the Treasurer and Tax Collector's office could make off with residents' tax payments. In the wake of the alleged theft of cash and checks worth more than $33,000 by former city employee Dawn Marie Medford, city officials decided to install security cameras in the tax collector's office. City Council will be asked to approve the expenditure of $9,182 when it meets Tuesday. In January, Haverhill Police charged Medford, 46, a resident of Haverhill's Bradford section, with 2 counts of larceny over $250 and 1 count of larceny under $250. She was not charged with cashing any of the missing checks. In addition to changing some of the procedures for tracking uncashed checks and other bank statement discrepancies, Mayor James Fiorentini said the installation of cameras will guard against a recurrence. A 21-year-old Lawrence man and his passenger were injured late Friday afternoon when, police said, he rolled through a partially obscured stop sign and collided with another car along Route 97 in Groveland. Police did not identify the driver of the 2010 Infiniti, but said he was on Center Street heading toward Salem Street just before 5:30 p.m. when he struck a Mercedes driven by a 75-year-old New Hampshire man along Route 97. We arrived quickly on scene and worked together to assist the patients in need. We're thankful that no one was seriously injured, said Fire Chief Robert Lay. Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen added Route 97 is a busy road, especially during the rush hour, and the current road construction only adds to confusion for out-of-town drivers. The driver of the Infiniti and his male passenger were both taken to the hospital. The driver of the Mercedes declined medical treatment. Throughout the month of August, WHAV provides daily reports counting down to the first day of school in Greater Haverhill. Former Silver Hill Horace Mann Charter School Assistant Principal Jennifer Russell transfers to Hunking School this fall to be Assistant Principal of the lower school, which serves students in kindergarten through 4th grade. I want to thank Jennifer Russell for the energy, talent, and leadership she has given to Silver Hill over the past 6 years, said Silver Hill Principal Margaret Shepard. Silver Hill's new assistant principal is Dr. Sandy Green, who formerly served as principal of the Greenleaf School when it housed students in kindergarten through 2nd grade. This year, Greenleaf reopens as a kindergarten center under the direction of Tony Daniez after an open house Monday, August 28th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. and student screenings on August 29th through 31st. Kindergartners return to school Tuesday, September 5th at Greenleaf and throughout the district. Hillview Charter Montessori School in Haverhill begins its back-to-school activities with a welcome back meet and greet Monday, August 28th from 5 to 6 p.m. at the school. Classes for grades 1 through 8 begin August 29th. Kindergartners also begin August 29th with half-days. Labor Day recess begins Friday, September 1st through Monday, September 4th. Classes resume September 5th with full days for grades 1 to 8 and half-days for kindergartners, who begin full-day sessions Monday, September 11th. A parent information night is planned for Wednesday, September 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The suspected driver in the Barcelona attacks has been shot dead by police in the town of Subirats. The U.S. Navy has announced a worldwide operational pause as it conducts a review following the collision of a naval vessel with an oil tanker. And millions of Americans have turned their attention to the sky as they view a rare total solar eclipse.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. Tonight we're expecting mainly clear skies, low 65 to 70, sunshine Tuesday. Warm and humid up to 90 degrees, some clouds late in the day. A cold front Tuesday night will bring us some showers and thunderstorms. It'll be muggy, a low near 70. Wednesday the front moves off to our south and east. The showers end in the morning, some afternoon sun. It's still warm, we'll be in the lower 80s, but it will be turning less humid. Then look for sunshine and pleasant weather Thursday and Friday, mid to upper 70s both days. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV is on Facebook. For quick access, visit WHAV.net and click on the Facebook icon.
WHAV Merrimack Valley Open Mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
8 minutes past the hour here on 97.9 FM, WHAV, and this is the Open Mic Show. My guest right now, to my immediate right, Joyce Thibodeau.
Thank you for having us.
And Fran Hogan.
Thank
who
you,
is
Tim.
Co-chair of the Commission on Disabilities in Haverhill.
Right.
All right. Today, well, we have all kinds of things, but really our main purpose is to talk about, one of you tell me what we're going to talk about.
Well, we're going to have a community access monitoring training coming up in October, and we want to invite the community and anyone else who would like to come to get more knowledgeable about what the regulations are for ADA and how to make accommodations that are not necessarily expensive, but they are necessary in order for everyone to be a part of the community.
You know, one of the longest running topics on this show was we give titles to regular callers. So we have someone we call Safety Officer Dave.
Oh, we love him.
Oh, you listen to
Yes.
Safety Officer Dave?
Yes.
And Safety Officer Dave pointed out a problem one day. He went to the stadium, and he has trouble walking. He couldn't find a space, and luckily, I think he said it was a Haverhill firefighter observed this, and the firefighter moved his own car so that Dave could go. And then Dave made quite a case for making sure that there was marked handicap parking. And I don't know if that's the kind of thing you like to talk about, or are there just about the whole gamut of access?
Joyce can talk a little bit about that particular place.
Well, that particular place, yes, and others as well. And this is all related to the community access monitor training. For me, when I came in, the training happened about a year after I came onto the commission. And basically, what I learned was, number one, things that I had seen and thought looked wrong, but needed to know they were wrong and have the law to back me up. In this training, we were introduced to 521 CMR. And in that are the regulations for slopes, for how many feet between vehicle to vehicle when you have van access. And so it relates to also the Riverside Park. There were actually studies done by Northeast Independent Living Program with regards to the parks and recreations, and that was also brought out in that particular report, which came out about the same time that I came on the commission, so I really wasn't in tune to it. But yes, I guess part of the problem down at Riverside, as it was explained to me, and I looked at it, and I agreed to a certain extent, not liking it, that originally the parking area in question wasn't technically a parking area. It was a graveled area. Therefore, handicap access parking was not required.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of a technicality.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Once it's paved, it's a parking lot. You're required to have the handicap access.
But now to pave it requires a study, 3 engineers.
Several years.
Exactly. But yeah, definitely community access monitor training was something that I benefited from tremendously. Learning about how hard you have to push to open a door to be within legal limits.
I'll admit that I don't qualify as handicapped in any form, and yet I find some doors are hard to open, including my own, but that's another. I got to fix that.
This is a wonderful little tool.
Because of the pressure that they have
Tell
on
us
it.
about that. Now, you're holding a tool. Now, our radio audience, you're familiar with describing
I'm
things for
actually
people
going to bring out the little brochure at HMC door pressure gauge. And basically, what you do is you get it to the point of it being unlatched, if it's a latched door.
Right.
And you press on the end of it, and as you're I'm sorry, turn the mic up. As you're pressing on it, it tells you how much pressure does it require to open that door. And I don't remember the exact limits, but it's in the 521 CMR. And once you've pressed it, there's a little rubber, like a rubber band. It's almost like a tire pressure gauge, but only it's
For our
doors.
television
Right.
viewers, let me put it up there.
There you go.
We're
Yeah.
looking down on us.
And there are
folks,
different sizes, and they're some are better, if you will, than others. This one is not quite as compact, but for the amount of times I use it, I keep it in my car. And we're actually, Fran will probably help work on this as well. We're actually working on getting some corrections done because of a door that was amiss. So I can't say enough about the community access monitor training. I really can't. It enlightened me a lot.
Well, let me ask you about that, because I teased it a little bit earlier in the program. We had a story on WHAV, well, it's more than a month now, and it was about a door between the MVRTA parking
the one.
garage
Yes.
and the railroad station.
And we're taking care of that.
And so is that all set now, or is it
It is.
being?
We talked to Joe at the MVTRA, and we told him what an issue it was for people, the elderly and people with disabilities, to get through that doorway. And he wasn't aware of it, and he had his people go out and check it, and he agreed that it was an issue. But when it was first put in, it wasn't brought to anyone's attention, and no one had complained about it up until then, or it hadn't come to him. So we said we felt this was something important, and we would be willing to partner with him to help pay to have it put in so that it would be accessible to everyone. So that's what's happening.
But that's
He's
what
in the
that's
process
why
of
I went
ordering
to
the
your
supplies.
meeting, because you do all this work quietly behind the scenes, and yet you're making many, many lives much more enjoyable, or maybe just accessible. Is
We
the
try.
better word.
Right.
We try.
Right.
And part of the reason that, even if there was a complaint about the door, part of the reason that nothing was being done is legally they were not responsible to do it because the laws had changed. Between the time that there was a design and the build, the laws had updated to require the door pressure to be within a certain limit. It wasn't there at the time. So nothing against the MVRTA. They're working
No, and
with us
I
to
think we
correct
made
it.
that clear
So-
in the story as well. But I can see,
And we had a community member come to our meeting and alert us to that.
and we actually had her
and-
photo on WHAV.net.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yes.
And it was wonderful. And now she's coming to our meetings, and she's helping us, reach out to the community and try to find more areas that we can help with. And we're always open to have anyone call us at any time and see what we can do to help with
All right.
accommodations.
We're going to talk about how they can do that, but we're going to take a break now for a community spotlight here on WHAV. We'll be back in just a moment with Fran Hogan and Joyce Thibodeau on the Open Mic Show.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Why pay $250 to $350 a year for half as much news? On air and online. 97.9 WHAV provides more Greater Haverhill news more often than any other sources combined. Support the only Haverhill-based news source with your tax-deductible local news membership by clicking on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
Catch the wave.
Melinda's Garden Moments help gardeners create and maintain a healthy, beautiful garden with ease, inside or out and all year long. This is Melinda Myers, inviting you to tune in every weekday morning right here on WHAV. You'll learn creative ways to grow your own vegetables and herbs while beautifying your landscape. Eco-friendly lawn care, flower garden design basics, unique container gardens, attracting birds and butterflies to the landscape, and much more. Again, please join me weekday mornings for Melinda's Garden Moment for a very environmentally friendly approach to gardening. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight.
Buttonwoods Museum wants to banish summer boredom with a new series of eco-friendly programs for kids 6 to 12. Early American Life, just like Colonial Kids, will be Thursday, August 24th, 9 to noon. Participants will do 18th century household chores and make crafts in the 1710 John Ward House. Each session is $15 for non-members and $10 for museum members, including a snack. Dress in play clothes and wear sunblock. To register, email programs@buttonwoods.org by 1 week prior to each activity. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at WHAV.net or email news@WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Robin Fancher.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And back here on the Open Mic Show, we have Joyce Thibodeau and Fran Hogan in that order. If we're going to do hierarchy, we have Fran Hogan and Joyce Thibodeau.
But I'm happy to have Joyce talk first.
Actually, during the break, I was reminded of something, and many of you listeners called about this as it was happening, and we've been on the air a long time, and this goes back a while, but many of you mentioned the poles on South Main Street after the reconstruction of the street and how, one, ugly they were, and two, how much of an obstruction they were. Right. And the Commission on Disabilities actually took up this topic and found what?
Unfortunately, using my tape measure to make sure that I wasn't measuring things incorrectly, and using what they call a smart level, which is it's a digital level. To make sure that the slopes leading to from sidewalks and the streets were properly installed for accessibility. In fact, Councillor Masick went out with me once or twice as well. And with my tape measure and looking at the laws, unfortunately, as stupid and as ugly as it is to put a phone pole in the middle of a sidewalk, every single one that we measured had 36 inches of access, with the exception of an occasional brush or two that was the property owner's responsibility to remove. There were several deficiencies that I found.
I noticed you had a list here.
Yeah, there were several deficiencies. There were quite a few ramps that were improperly sloped or that had a lip either coming to the street from the sidewalk or vice versa, so that anybody that has, in particular, a cane, if you're moving along and all of a sudden you get your cane in your gut because it hit this half-inch high obstruction. So they did fix that. I will say I worked with Bernie Levita, who's no longer with the DOT, but I did have an extensive meeting with him and several of the engineers, and we went out, and by the time I met with him 2 weeks after the first meeting, most of them were fixed. Yeah. So anything that was deficient was fixed. Yeah.
So in case listeners, you're wondering who checks these things,
we try.
These people do.
We try.
But the Do you have a tool for checking the slope?
Yes, and that's
all
the
kinds of tools.
Well, it actually belongs to the commission, but I am usually the one that uses it, so I keep it
Right.
usually in my car. It's a level as a carpenter would use, but only it's digital. So there's no messing around with how far off is it. It will tell me if it's in the proper slope or not digitally.
Did you find any deficiencies
Yes.
at WHAV?
No, I don't know.
We can come back, though, and do it
The smart level's at my house, but I can go get it if you want.
tomorrow.
But again,
guard
this
here.
this
Okay.
is all this is all because of the CAM training that we had. It really just sparked me and got me going. And in the comments that I had seen in the newspapers, I decided to just take the ball and run with it.
And we're going to talk more about the CAM, which means what? Community Access Monitor.
Correct.
Training. We're going to talk more about that. But let's talk about what are some of the other things you've discovered and worked on that perhaps most people overlooked, besides the railroad station door and the sidewalk having a pitch that was inappropriate and telephone poles in the way. What else?
Well, actually, the biggest project I think we've done, and I think you'll agree with me, Fran, was we had hired Northeast Independent Living Program to do some studies for us. They originally had done the studies of the open areas, the parks and recreational areas, and that was done before I actually came on the commission. So I looked at it and certainly tried to work with it, but I was directly involved with Jim Lyons from NILP in going to the different schools, a couple of the fire stations. We went any place that might have involved a polling place. City Hall, the water department, the public works department. It's a very extensive study. There were some deficiencies. Some were very minor. Some were just a matter of remove that piece of wood on the threshold because it's an obstruction. Very simple. Some of them were a little more severe. Off the top of my head, I'm not coming up with any, but some of them were quite simple.
Where was this?
We
Across
all across town. The public library, the city hall. There were some silly things. For instance, on both the men's and the ladies' rooms, if you put a wheelchair under the counter, you couldn't reach the paper towel dispenser.
Ah, I see.
Or if you put a wheelchair under the counter and the pipes are exposed, you risk injuring your leg.
Or a burn or whatever.
Right. And that would be a simple thing. Move the paper towel dispenser so it's reachable and put some type of insulation around the pipes so that they're protected.
See, someone actually checks this stuff. Now, I actually, City Hall came up in a conversation in the last few weeks, and it was, where is the handicapped access to Haverhill City Hall?
It's on Main Street.
All right. So is that a special lot? This is
Yes.
near the front of the building on Main Street, kind of roughly across from the old American Legion.
It's exactly. Yeah. It's not the front. It's not the back. It's on the side. It's on the Main Street side. Yes.
And does that meet the requirements, or you don't want to get in trouble?
Actually, I think
believe
Jim
it
looked
does.
at that.
Yeah, I believe it does. Because when you access that door, you go right in the elevators right there.
And there's a what do you call that? The button to make sure.
An access button, yeah.
Access button, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
button. Well,
It's a button. Switch.
Yeah.
I learned a technical term.
Yeah.
And so the doors open, and then they can go to the elevator.
Right.
Correct.
And the elevator is the right size and so
Yes.
on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we learned something new. And then what else do we have on your list? So we, what is this about accessible playground equipment?
Well, that was part of the. Did you get directly involved on the Parks and Recreation report that
Well,
he did?
talking to Vinny about it, yeah. We would. It came to our attention that some of the playgrounds didn't have any equipment for someone with a disability to swing and do other things. So he came to us and said, we really want to do this, but we don't have enough funding, so we donated some money towards that project.
And that's a good question. It's a good answer. Now here's the question.
Where do the funds come from?
Where does the money come from?
From the parking fines.
Handicap parking funds.
When people park illegally, then they get a fine, and that money goes into an account which we're able to use to put back into the community.
All right, so this comes from, so if you were parked and you shouldn't have parked in a handicapped space, you didn't have a placard or what have you.
Correct.
That fine went to good use.
That's right.
That's right.
And it goes to the Disabilities Commission to use for things like this.
Right. Correct.
So are they in the form of grants to the city or to, actually?
Well, it's not an official grant. It's a request from Vinny from the Recreation, and then we have our meeting, and we decide if we want to approve it or not, and then we do, and then the money goes to him. So
Now,
it's
is
more
that available
informal.
to the private sector?
It depends on what it is. It depends on whether it's a community-wide thing that everyone can access, because otherwise we'd have 50,000 people lined up wanting to have us give them $10 here and $50 there.
Oh, that's why I asked.
Just the MVRTA would be a good example.
Right.
Okay, that's a good thing. Now, I believe I may have mentioned this at your last meeting, and I no longer remember the answer. I'm just getting old. There is, and we discussed it on Open Mic Show. Someone mentioned it last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. There is, and then this will happen as water gets under the street and undermines sidewalks, and maybe a tree grew up and moved a sidewalk. But there is a significant drop as you're coming up the sidewalk on 7th Avenue to Main Street. There is a significant gap in the sidewalk where, and looking at the hole, I can see why they can't easily fix it. There's a gas line there, which is a different issue maybe.
Yeah.
So the gas line should be helping the city make the repairs.
Yeah, no, because it looks like there's a cap
Right.
for that. I mean, it obviously moved with the sidewalk, and as far as I know, we didn't have a safety issue with that, but I can see that it might be more difficult to move that. But is that the kind, I mean, how do you find out about these things? People like me melting off?
Or someone might call us, or a friend of a friend will tell someone and ask them if they'll pass the word along to us, because people are embarrassed, or they don't have enough confidence to come and complain about anything.
As if, for instance, where it comes from a different source. A very good friend of mine asked me for an opinion, and I had to research it, and I think I even got in touch with Fran on this, with regards to she was purchasing a condominium and had 2 dogs. She's only allowed 1 pet. Technically, she only had 1 pet because 1 was a service dog.
Ah, okay. That's an interesting issue.
So even things that are not involving money are things that we try to help resolve.
But there's so few of you to do all of this. What's the
Thank you.
solution?
We really need to have more people join our commission.
So more people can join. You welcome new members. Now, is there a process? Do they submit an application, a resume, or a letter of interest? How does that work?
We'd like them to come to a couple of meetings first. To
Test the
see what
waters.
interest, yeah, just so they can see when we have it and if they're comfortable, and because some people really like to be strictly by Robert's Rules of Orders and things like that, and if they have issues like that, we want to resolve them before they join a commission.
Okay. All right. So some of the procedural issues.
Right.
But yes,
exactly.
there is an application, actually. They need to, I believe it's on the City of Haverhill website. Is it the mayor's page? I know there's
I'll have to
there's an
look at it.
application
I'm
on
not
there. I
sure.
forgot where it
Yeah.
is. And a resume and a meeting with the mayor.
All right. So the mayor makes the appointment.
Exactly.
The mayor makes, like most boards.
Yeah.
The mayor makes the appointment, but there's a whole vetting process, and he probably appreciates your screening for him and doing that kind of thing.
Well, we don't.
And we
really
have
get a chance
volunteers.
to do any screening.
What?
Yeah. We don't do any of the screening. It's totally by the mayor.
Well, I just
We
meant in
haven't been
case
invited to.
you might lobby for
would
someone
like to.
good. All right, maybe not. We don't want to put him on the spot here.
One thing we really need to let people know is they either have to have a disability or have a family member with a disability in order to be on the
All
commission.
right, so it's an eligibility. Okay.
Yes.
Yes and no. There's a certain percentage, and I don't remember the percentage, that have to have a disability or a member of the family with a disability.
Is there a maximum size for the committee?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I don't have it on the top of my head.
We've been told it's 13, but we'll research it to make sure.
But how many active now? The two of you.
4 or 5. That's it.
So you really could use some help.
Yes.
Now, if someone were, we have to go to weather in a second, but if someone were to say, hey, I have this real big problem, I didn't know there was anyone who could help me, how do they let you know? Can they call you? I mean, obviously you're volunteers, you're not there 24/7. How can people let you know about a concern?
A couple different ways. There is a phone in the office. The office is not manned, so we advise you not to go to the office because 99% of the time there isn't someone
Is
there.
the office handicapped accessible?
It is.
Yes.
It is.
It's
at the Citizen Center, down in the basement. But the number to reach us to leave a message is 978-374-2388, extension 35. And it will say that you've reached Pat at the Commission on Disability.
Let's do this one more time, real slow.
Yep, 978-374-2388. extension 35.
And we'll try to keep that information, by the way, here in case someone calls later and you're not here. I'll have a note of it. So 2388 extension 35.
Right. We also have an official email address.
Okay.
I think I'm the only one that ever looks at it, but that's another whole story.
They need someone to check email. All right.
Haverhill Cody, Haverhill CODI at cityofhaverhill.com.
Haverhill CODI.
And that would be Commission on Disability Issues.
Issues. So that's what the I is for.
Yeah.
It's not the name of your
Somehow
dog,
that gets
right?
no. But we had that set up a couple of years ago because there was a little blip on that, and Vinny helped me get that fixed because there was a personal email address on the
Actually,
webpage.
what's that address again? Haverhill?
Haverhill CODI.
At?
cityofhaverhill.com.
cityofhaverhill, all one word, .com. I'll be able to read this, I hope, later. Okay.
And you can actually get that information from the City of Haverhill webpage.
Okay, so there's a
extension
shortcut.
on the right of
Yep.
the phone. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I'll tell you what, why don't we take a break for weather, if Chris is ready in master control, and then we'll be back with more of the open mic show, and we're going to learn how you too can learn how to spot these types of issues. We'll be right back.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the open mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:33.
Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system. This is 97.9 WHAV.
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny Dollar, in spite of writing the fanciest expense accounts in the industry, is in high demand by his employers. He's a freelance insurance investigator on the job only when the stakes are sky high. When murder or fraud covers a venal grab for profits, it's Johnny's job to jolt the facts from those involved. Detective work in all corners of the world is a specialty for yours truly, Johnny Dollar, one of your great Sunday listening treats on CBS Radio.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, airs at 10 p.m. Sunday night with an encore performance at 1 a.m.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. Tonight we're expecting mainly clear skies, low 65 to 70, sunshine Tuesday. Warm and humid up to 90 degrees, some clouds late in the day. A cold front Tuesday night will bring us some showers and thunderstorms. It'll be muggy, a low near 70. Wednesday the front moves off to our south and east. The showers end in the morning, some afternoon sun. It's still warm, we'll be in the lower 80s, but it will be turning less humid. Then look for sunshine and pleasant weather Thursday and Friday, mid to upper 70s both days. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back on the open mic show here with Fran Hogan and Joyce Thibodeau. We've learned so much already tonight that the persons who check, and there are not enough of them, by the way, who check to see whether the slope is correct for handicapped access. And I hadn't even thought of the idea that you're walking with a cane and suddenly you get pushed back because it hits the slope wrong. Very
Right.
interesting. And I imagine that the people who need to use the canes, and we always hear every year, is it coming up, right?
White Cane Day.
Right.
Every year we hear from, we call him the corporal. Everybody has a nickname on the show.
Oh, yeah.
If you come on often enough, we'll give you nicknames.
Oh, good. I hope it's a good one.
Yeah. Well, they actually usually self-assigned.
Oh.
But in any event, these are the kinds of things that people don't know who to talk to. We have Safety Officer Dave talk about the issues. You illuminated us on what some of those problems were. That it's technically not a parking lot if it's not paved, but I understand some of that's been resolved. And we learned about some of the tools of the trade, so quite a bit. Now, let's find out how you can actually learn more about this. And so you have an event, it's not just your events, right? Massachusetts Office of Disability?
Are doing the actual event.
Yes.
And they come out from Boston. Jeff Dugan is the one who does the actual training. And he is only one person, and he covers both sides of the state. So we were only allowed to have one every 3 or 4 years. So
Really?
we're very fortunate to have it in our area
Funny
this
you say
time.
both sides of the state. So you're admitting that Western Massachusetts is really in Connecticut.
Well, it's funny because when
Or
I
New
lived
York.
when I lived in Washington State, it was East Washington and West Washington. So I'm so used to saying that.
No, it's just kind of funny because that's what the people out to Springfield all the way out say about gubernatorial races. But we won't bring that up now.
No.
But in any event, so this is presented by the Massachusetts Office on Disability. And when, where, how much?
October 24th and 25th. It's going to be at the Andover School of Law.
No, October 24th is a Tuesday.
Right, Tuesday and
And
Wednesday.
it's a 2-day training. It's not one or
Right.
the other. It's a 2-day
So
training.
you need to be committed to the 2 days.
So 2 days from
And-
9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Right,
It's all
and we'll
day.
have
Is there a lunch?
Yes,
All
we'll
right,
also
that's
have
all.
coffee
Chris, you're
and
gonna go?
muffins in the morning, and then lunch will be included. And also, if we get enough people who want to go from this area, we'll make some arrangements to get a van or someone to take people who can't drive that far. Because it
Okay.
is a hike to get to Andover.
All right,
But
so-
we need to have some, notice ahead of time of how many people would need an actual ride.
What would someone learn from going?
Oh, boy, there's so much you're going to learn.
521 CMR.
Which is the rules and regulations of what people have to go by. You'll also know what good and bad accessibility is. When you go into a restaurant, is it accessible to people or not? And normally you just walk in and you're in there and you're fine and you don't even think about it. But when someone
Well,
has
some
to
of
go
us
in-
take that for granted, and you
We
point
do.
out when that
do.
is an issue.
In fact, if you go down Merrimack Street, and I love going to Artist Cafe, and there are 2 steps there, and they can't help it. I mean, that's just the way the buildings were built many years ago. But some of the newer buildings, there is enough property there that they could put a smaller ramp in. But they have to know about it, and they have to realize that people aren't able
Well,
to
that's
get in
actually
there.
a good question. I don't know if this gets addressed at these things. If the building is on, let's say, an historic register, because I noticed this at 38 Washington Street, actually. Had an office there once. And the steps are actually some kind of a cast iron. It goes back to, obviously
Right.
the
Right.
fire of 1882. To put a ramp there would mean probably overtaking the sidewalk and then blocking people from
Right.
access, so that doesn't seem to help.
No, it doesn't
Are
make
there
sense.
solutions for that, or do they get waived for a building like that?
I believe they would get waived on something like that.
Historic is under its own little umbrella, and I'm not sure how exactly things are different on the historic. But there's also the whole matter of if you're not renovating a building, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fran, if you're not renovating a building, you're not required to make it handicap accessible. Out of the goodness of your heart, if you want to do that, that's another story.
Right.
Once you start renovating a building that's going to be accessible to the public, and you hit a certain percentage of renovation, you
Dollar-wise.
have to make it accessible.
Do you know what
Right.
that percentage is?
I think, was it 30%?
We don't. I want you to be
believe so.
experts on.
I believe it's
everything.
30%.
On
Yeah, I think it's
historic
about
structures,
30%.
on building codes.
Right.
No, we don't
I know,
expect,
we can't.
don't expect you to have answers to all of
Yeah.
that. Now that's interesting. Now, how much does it cost to get this education?
Well, to attend the training, if you're a person who needs to apply for a scholarship, there are scholarships available. We want to make sure that if people don't have the funding to pay
So
for
if you
it,
cannot afford to pay, that may not be
then
an
contact
obstacle.
us personally, and we'll take care of it. A consumer who can afford to pay the $15, a community member. If you're a professional, of course, the price is $85.
Now, what's the difference between a consumer and a professional?
As far as the training they receive, no difference.
No difference
Everyone
in training.
receives the exact same training.
But would a professional be, say, give me an example, an architect?
An architect, a business owner, someone who works for the city, who has to follow these regulations. Yeah.
All right.
People who have to go by these regulations for their job.
And I imagine there are some employers who would pay the tuition,
Yes.
we'll call it.
Yes.
All right. So, again, let's go through this.
And you also receive, don't forget, this backpack when you go to this training.
No, we show that
the backpack was the emergency preparedness. It was the white bag.
Oh, the white bag. Okay.
The white bag.
So
okay.
you'll receive a bag with
for radio
materials
listeners, you
in
don't
it.
know what we're talking
No,
about
no,
anyway. But
it's a tote bag.
What if the tote bag includes anything in particular?
Well, it included this wonderful blue binder that you can't see on the radio.
Turn it up
It's
towards
quite
them.
it's quite the hefty little thing.
Let
There's
me ask
actually
you this.
there's a
Isn't
couple
there
of
some
binders.
irony there? If you perhaps have a muscle problem, you can't lift the book?
I think you can get most of this information on tape.
Oh, gee, see, she has
On
an
CD.
answer for that.
Yep.
There's a lot there's a lot of nice access telephone numbers in here to the different government agencies. There's actually a list of all of the different commission chairs. So Fran's in the list.
I wonder if WHAV could sponsor Safety Officer Dave to go.
That would be wonderful.
There you go.
That would be wonderful.
Because Safety Officer Dave, you're advising us, we could send you to this thing. And as far as I know, you're not a professional, so it's only going to cost us $15.
Right, that's right.
And they'll provide transportation.
Right.
As long as we get enough advance notice and we have enough people that are looking for a ride.
Well, when is the deadline for letting them know?
I would say 2 weeks ahead of time.
All right, so
Would be
actually I see
great.
it here, right? Registration deadline is October
17th.
17th.
Yeah. So,
And
you know, if they can't get a hold of us until that date, we're not going to turn anyone away, but it's just important that we try to coordinate it as early as possible.
Because we have to have the food and the supplies. When Mass Office on Disability comes in, when Jeff Dugan comes in, he has to know how many sets of bags with all of these binders, with all this wonderful information does he need to provide. And we also need to know how much food to order.
And this is going to take place at Andover School of Law. Why was that destination? Is it in the middle of the district, or
we've been
they're
to other
handicap
trainings.
accessible?
Very. We've been to trainings there before, and they have a huge room with the screen that we need on the wall, and they'll have accommodations for people if they need earphones. I mean, there are many things that we can access through them, through their students.
Now, what I found
Possibly.
interesting here, and I think it's consistent with your mission, I was interested to see it. It jumped right out at me. Actually, it's the biggest type on the page, actually. This is a scent-free event.
Yes.
Please, no perfume, aftershave, cologne, etc.
Right.
And you know, I think a lot of people overlook...
No wild country on you.
But I think a lot of people overlook things. Matter of fact, I would say, and I don't expect you to know the answer to this, and I'm not even sure it's covered by your guidelines, but for many years, I remember going to grammar school and high school, and they would have the peanut butter and the celery sticks.
Right.
Turns out that could be really dangerous for someone.
Exactly.
My grandson's allergic to peanuts.
So this is probably a constantly evolving situation about making sure that we are treating people correctly.
There are so many more people with allergies now than there ever were.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard a
different
lot of
kinds
theories
things.
about that, probably beyond the scope of this meeting, but I understand maybe antibacterial products are the cause.
I heard an
Maybe.
interesting story about peanuts, and it makes sense, but I've never really looked into it. Where everybody wears sunscreen. Well, most people wear sunscreen. Sunscreen is prohibiting your body from naturally producing the vitamin D, which is necessary to digest peanuts.
Really?
Oh.
And they're scientists, too.
This is what I was told. Like I said, I never totally researched it, but it makes sense.
I've heard that some of the asthma issues are, and maybe I'm mixing it up, but is that we all thought it makes sense. Let's use antibacterial cleaners and soaps, but younger people aren't developing naturally occurring
Exactly.
Protection.
I mean, we
against some
played
of
in a
these things.
sandbox. We had dirt. We ate, vegetables with dirt on.
You drank out of the hose?
And we were fine.
I remember my father in the tin cup going up to the streams in Vermont. And who knows what's in that stuff?
That's right. That's right.
But we won't go into another topic.
Now, don't forget, they can also have materials in Braille, a large print.
Do they need to let you know ahead of time?
Yes. And we can have sign language interpreter if needed, but that also has to be booked way ahead of time.
All right, so sign language interpreter is possible, large type is possible, Braille is possible, but you have to let them know.
Right.
Now, can they, I see there's all kinds of information here, but can they call what do you recommend they do if they have a question? Call the commission and leave a message?
You know what? I'm happy to give out my phone number if they want to call me directly, or if they want to leave a message and no one gets back to them within a week, call me on my home number.
All right, so Fran?
978-332-3082.
Now, hold on, let me do that again.
Because I would hate to have anyone miss getting...
Okay, what is the number again?
978
Okay.
332
332
3082.
3082. Radio
Right.
people can remember it that way.
3082, yeah.
3082. Fran can answer your questions. She is the co-chair of the Haverhill Disabilities Commission. And also, speaking
And the
of...
registrations come to me anyway.
All right, yeah, and this again, $15 for your consumer. I think it's going to cover most people here. But let me throw this out here. I understand that someone in your family has a birthday in September.
My son will be 41.
All right,
And
so
September
can't
17th.
be possible, aren't you 41?
I wish. My daughters, I have twin daughters also, and they're 49, so I guess I'm a little older than that.
All right, so happy birthday to
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Chris, can you make a note to put Jonathan? We already know your last name now. So usually
Hogan,
we shield him.
yeah.
Jonathan Hogan, September 17th birthday. See, I told you I would work that in.
Thank you. I'm glad you remembered.
All right, so we give out, and just for the rest of you who are wondering what that is, every month here on the Open Mic Show, someone celebrating a birthday or a couple celebrating an anniversary can win a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albie D's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. And Albie D's donates that. Doesn't cost WHAV any money, doesn't cost the recipient any money, doesn't cost the donor any money. They're just good citizens, and we appreciate that. And we're just about out of time. Is there anything else you wanted to raise?
Well, I just want to thank you so much for having us on here. This is
Absolutely.
wonderful. We want to get the word out as much as we can. I know mailings are going out all across the state, and there'll be a lot of people coming from other areas who weren't able to access it in their own area the last time they had one.
Well, I'm going to make sure we actually get this on Community Spotlight also. So we'll have some things at WHAV.net and on air up until the registration deadline.
Great.
Nice.
Thank you
That'll
very
be
much.
our pledge to you to do that. So they'll be online and on air.
And
that's-
you're invited to come too, Kim, if you'd like to, as our guest. You won't even have to pay the consumer price.
No, I'd pay the consumer price. What I'm worried about is 2 days, which maybe some of
know.
our listeners
2
are.
full
I know.
days.
It's
But
a-
look
it's
at
a long
all the
training.
information these people have at the top
I know.
of their tongues, tip of their tongues, like, whatever, top of something. Hey, see, I'm just getting old and feeble. All right.
We're there with you, believe me.
All right, well, thank you so much, Fran Hogan,
Thank
Joyce
you.
Thibodeau. And I did sit in at one of their meetings, and frankly, I was impressed by all of the topics, all of the work, all of the, frankly, research that goes into making a determination. And I'm really impressed by
Thank
the
you.
commission. I did not know much about this, and I learned so much, and I'm sure I could learn a lot more, and I might very well go to this. So thank you very much.
Well,
If
and
you
the
can afford
commission
the
is-
time, we'd love to have you.
And the commission's been around since 1993.
1993, actually, that's a
Believe it or
great
not.
question. I should have asked that.
Yeah.
But that's actually relatively recent. Is
And we still
awareness
have,
that
and
difficult?
Pat Kalasian was one of the original members of the team, also Brian Langloy. And they're still around giving us advice and helping us, so we appreciate that.
Actually, Pat and Harry are wonderful people, and Mark, their son,
And the captain,
is
Jerry.
helping us. Mark, here's a shout out to Mark. He's been helping us refine our oldies music here on WHAV. So it's Haverhill's really a small town, really. Right?
Yeah.
In some ways, yes.
In the good ways.
Yes. You
All
never
right.
know.
All right, so Chris, we're going to leave right there. We're going to go to whatever we usually do at this time, and then we'll be back with more of the open. That's why he's here, Chris Porter in Master Control. He does
Keeping
everything
you on
that
track.
I forget. We'll be back with more of the open mic show and open lines after that.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
97.9 WHAV. Your hometown just isn't about topics. It's about the people behind the topics and the people that are affecting those topics and that are being affected by those topics. That is what your hometown is all about.
Your Hometown with Mark LeMay, Friday nights at 6:30 on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Community Spotlight.
With fall around the corner, Haverhill's Recreation Department is looking for donations of used sports equipment for youth who participate in city programs. Equipment for football, lacrosse, and wrestling are of particular interest. A collection box is located in the lobby of the Citizens Center at 10 Welcome Street, and donations are accepted Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. For questions, call Recreation Director Vincent Olet at 978-374-2388, extension 28. or email vo@cityofhaverhill.com. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Robin Fancher.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
About 7 minutes before the hour here on 97.9 FM WHAV. Open lines now for the rest of the program. We've hit on a number of topics that you might be interested in. And for some reason, my headphones are no longer working, but I'll do my best to hear you. And very, very pleased to have Fran Hogan and Joyce Thibodeau here on the program. You know, you would think someone checks these things, and now you know, and they need some help too. So if you want to join the commission, they'll set up an interview with the mayor. I believe that's what they said. And you could very well, they obviously need help, and you could take the training and learn all about the laws and how to check for deficiencies. And that's going to be taking place October 24th in Andover. And as they said, they may be able to provide transportation and get a good group there. It's about a 2-day thing, and that's something that could be very valuable. All right. Seem to have lost sound here, but anyway, this is what happens with live radio, and we'll make the best of it. All right, 978-374-1900, 978-374-1900. You too could enter the Albee D's Second Generation Italian Bakery Cake Contest. All you have to do is call the Open Mic Show, wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary, and they also could win a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albee D's Second Generation Italian Bakery. Nothing could be easier. All right. Now, we have all kinds of things that probably we should be talking about here on the Open Mic Show. I don't know if Safety Officer Dave is listening, but WHAV is willing to pay Safety Officer Dave, pay for your tuition, to go to this event so that you can represent the community there. So that is, want to get if you know Safety Officer Dave, let him know that I think that would be a great service to the community, and he obviously takes a great interest in alerting us to these issues and this kind of thing. Chris is looking at something on his phone, so is this a big deal? Okay. Anyway, we have, let's see if any of you are commenting on Facebook, or we'll check the WHAV.tv, where you can watch the program as well. You can leave a comment there if you're shy. You can't win a prize, but you can do that. All right. Have you heard the programs? We have a couple special programs on WHAV right now, this week and next. One is the Dog Days of Summer, a salute to our canine heroes. Absolutely there. There's a cliche about the dog days. We wanted to bring some real meaning to that. And, we learned quite a bit, and you'll be learning as you listen this week to the program. But each segment's only about a couple of minutes, and it talks about how some of the canine officers in the Valley, whether they work for the Sheriff's Department or a local police department like Methuen or Amesbury, or whether they are on loan to the Fire Marshal's office. Canines, and you think of the usual German Shepherd, but the Fire Marshal has actually a different breed of dog that can sniff out, let's say, accelerants after a fire to determine whether or not it was arson. And these aren't attack dogs. These are, in some cases, a dog that might help find an autistic child, or a dog that will help find someone who may have wandered out of a nursing home, that kind of thing. We are so close to the top of the hour that I don't think we can fit in a call right now, so I'm going to ask callers to wait, if you wouldn't mind, or call back, but we're going to take your calls. It's not fair to you to take your call and give you 30 seconds before news. But let's talk about some of the things we can talk about after the break. We learned about disabilities issues tonight. Maybe you want to talk about that. Earlier in the program, we talked about the upcoming local elections. Now, in Haverhill and in Methuen, really no election for mayor. Candidates are unopposed. Jim Jajuga looks like he's about to launch, his fourth career, now mayor of Methuen, but he's a former state senator, he's a former state police trooper, he is he's the title commissioner of public safety for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and now looks like will be mayor. Methuen has term limits. Not many communities do. Maybe you want to comment on that. Are term limits good? Would you have liked to have seen Mayor Stephen Zani serve another term in Methuen? We're losing some great city councilors in Methuen. Maybe that is a reason not to have term limits. Or maybe you say it is a reason to have term limits. So let's hear your thoughts on anything. Open lines, and any callers who are waiting, if you wouldn't mind bearing with us, either call back or wait. Just the news is about 5 minutes. Wait till after the news, and we'll regroup in just a moment here on the Open Mic Show. Let's go to news.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8 o'clock.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. It'll cost the city a little more than $9,000 to protect itself from the possibility that an employee in the Treasurer and Tax Collector's office could make off with residents' tax payments. In the wake of the alleged theft of cash and checks worth more than $33,000 by former city employee Dawn Marie Medford, city officials decided to install security cameras in the tax collector's office. City Council will be asked to approve the expenditure of $9,182 when it meets Tuesday. In January, Haverhill Police charged Medford, 46, a resident of Haverhill's Bradford section, with 2 counts of larceny over $250 and 1 count of larceny under $250. She was not charged with cashing any of the missing checks. In addition to changing some of the procedures for tracking uncashed checks and other bank statement discrepancies, Mayor James Fiorentini said the installation of cameras will guard against a recurrence. A 20-year-old Haverhill man was arrested early Thursday morning for allegedly breaking into Groveland and Boxford homes, leading police on a chase in 1 stolen car and finally crashing a 2nd stolen car into a tractor-trailer in Haverhill. Carson Hamilton was charged with burglary, larceny, receiving stolen property, failure to stop, driving a motor vehicle without authority, driving after license suspension, reckless driving to endanger, and speeding, Groveland Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen said Friday. Here it gets complicated, so follow closely. Groveland Police Department received a report of a man inside a home at 1:30 a.m. on Parker Road. A resident said a purse was stolen by a white man in a black hooded sweatshirt who broke in through a backsliding door. A man fitting the description was seen later with 3 other men on Pinewood Lane. When spotted by Officer Adam Sanborn, the men fled on foot. The man, later said to be Carson, ran down Clark Road. Soon after, Sanborn noticed a blue SUV with New Hampshire plates speeding along Parker Road. The SUV, later determined to be stolen, sped through a traffic stop on Main Street, heading toward Haverhill. Boxford and State Police and an Amesbury Police K-9 unit joined in after the vehicle stopped in Lily Pond Road in Boxford. Hamilton was caught by the K-9 unit after he allegedly stole another car in Haverhill and crashed into a tractor-trailer on Route 125 in Haverhill. He was taken to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries and then arrested by Haverhill Police. A 21-year-old Lawrence man and his passenger were injured late Friday afternoon when, police said, he rolled through a partially obscured stop sign and collided with another car along Route 97 in Groveland. Police did not identify the driver of the 2010 Infiniti, but said he was on Center Street heading toward Salem Street just before 5:30 p.m. when he struck a Mercedes driven by a 75-year-old New Hampshire man along Route 97. We arrived quickly on scene and worked together to assist the patients in need. We're thankful that no one was seriously injured, said Fire Chief Robert Lay. Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen added Route 97 is a busy road, especially during the rush hour, and the current road construction only adds to confusion for out-of-town drivers. The driver of the Infiniti and his male passenger were both taken to the hospital. The driver of the Mercedes declined medical treatment. Throughout the month of August, WHAV provides daily reports counting down to the first day of school in Greater Haverhill. Former Silver Hill Horace Mann Charter School Assistant Principal Jennifer Russell transfers to Hunking School this fall to be Assistant Principal of the lower school, which serves students in kindergarten through 4th grade. I want to thank Jennifer Russell for the energy, talent, and leadership she has given to Silver Hill over the past 6 years, said Silver Hill Principal Margaret Shepard. Silver Hill's new assistant principal is Dr. Sandy Green, who formerly served as principal of the Greenleaf School when it housed students in kindergarten through 2nd grade. This year, Greenleaf reopens as a kindergarten center under the direction of Tony Daniez after an open house Monday, August 28th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. and student screenings on August 29th through 31st. Kindergartners return to school Tuesday, September 5th at Greenleaf and throughout the district. Hillview Charter Montessori School in Haverhill begins its back-to-school activities with a welcome-back meet-and-greet Monday, August 28th from 5 to 6 p.m. at the school. Classes for grades 1 through 8 begin August 29th. Kindergartners also begin August 29th with half-days. Labor Day recess begins Friday, September 1st through Monday, September 4th. Classes resume September 5th with full days for grades 1 to 8 and half-days for kindergartners, who begin full-day sessions Monday, September 11th. A parent information night is planned for Wednesday, September 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The suspected driver in the Barcelona attacks has been shot dead by police in the town of Subarats. The U.S. Navy has announced a worldwide operational pause as it conducts a review following the collision of a naval vessel with an oil tanker. And millions of Americans have turned their attention to the sky as they view a rare total solar eclipse.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. Tonight we're expecting mainly clear skies, low 65 to 70, sunshine Tuesday. Warm and humid up to 90 degrees, some clouds late in the day. A cold front Tuesday night will bring us some showers and thunderstorms. It'll be muggy, a low near 70. Wednesday the front moves off to our south and east. The showers end in the morning, some afternoon sun. It's still warm, we'll be in the lower 80s, but it will be turning less humid. Then look for sunshine and pleasant weather Thursday and Friday, mid to upper 70s both days. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
97.9 WHAV is the only FM station assigned to the city of Haverhill. Your membership is critical to continued operation. It's easy to join. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net. 97.9 FM WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco at whav.net.
Open Mic Show, as soon as Chris puts me up. Back here on the Open Mic Show, I'm Tim Coco, your host. Every week at this time, I'd like to thank our producer, Chris Porter, the man with, I don't know how many radio jobs. I say 5, but it could be 10 by now. He's like everywhere. This man knows everything there is to know about radio, and actually, he has become an aficionado of old radios. He has apparently a mint condition, is it a Zenith? That he had restored. I have the exact same model that doesn't work. So, Chris, if you have questions about radio, whether it's the set, the transmitter, the station, the history, the music, Chris Porter is your man. And Cindy is unable to join us tonight, but we hope to have her back next week as we barrel ever faster toward Labor Day. It's hard to believe. I still think it's April. I don't know how it got to be August 21st. But let's not hold up our callers any longer. Let's go to the phones. I believe we have Jerry from Methuen. You are on the open mic.
Good evening. Good evening, Tim.
Yeah, sorry to hold you up so long. We just went right into news. So.
Oh, that's quite all right. You had some interesting guests tonight. We have a very strong disabilities commission board in Methuen, very strong. So strong sometimes, I guess, that one of the principals, from time to time, I guess, irritated the mayor a little, but things will, they get things done. So it was good to hear.
It's actually very valuable work now, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's very valuable work, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. Being a person who, as a result of illnesses, graduated from a cane to a walker, I can relate to it. I'll tell you. But anyway, you had an interesting. You would talk a little about elections.
Well, yeah. I mean, how does it feel not to live in a democracy in Methuen?
You mean the Methuen, what they call it?
Well, I mean, do you agree with the term limits?
Tammany Hall, The Tammany Hall of Merrimack Valley.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's that bad. But I mean, do you agree with term limits? It seems like you're losing some good folks this year.
I haven't been involved in politics because I was always too busy working, 2 or 3 jobs, singing with the band. I worked in a microbiology laboratory nights, and then I worked full time, with the Commonwealth. So I was always busy doing something, working, and so I never really got involved. But then when I got involved, and the answer to your question is, I'm kind of glad that there was term limits.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I have. I'm looking back at the, elected certain electoral offices, and I'm glad there was term limits.
All right, because I mean, this year you're using what, Lisa and Jamie. How big is the council?
Pardon?
How big is your council?
Nine members.
9, just like Haverhill. But you have ward councilors.
Yeah, districts they call them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, districts. I know that
and one wild card at large.
Only one?
Yeah, one at well, I'm talking about one more or less opportunity at large, 2 candidates.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's a big debate here from time to time in Haverhill about whether or not certain neighborhoods don't get as much representation because none of the councilors are from that neighborhood, for example. So does it work well in Methuen?
Oh, yes. The councilors at large are very, very active. One in particular, Jennifer Canan. She returns calls, and she's very, very, very good.
Well, one city councilor.
I like her very much.
One city councilor in Haverhill told me that there's a disadvantage to district councilors, and that is that there's some horse trading that goes on. Like, hey, I want this in my neighborhood because I'll get some votes.
Things like what you call trading votes.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote for this if you vote for this. There's a lot of that. I suppose that's part of politics.
Or democracy.
But the thing that I really was wanted to talk to you about is the financial incentives. And, I really think that, for example, the mayor in the city of Methuen, do you know how much the salary is?
Actually, I don't know that.
And do you know what the salary of the superintendent of schools is?
I don't know that either, but I bet it's the highest paid job.
Do you know what the salary of the chief of police is?
For Methuen?
Yeah.
No, that's why we rely on you. You are our correspondent on the ground.
Well, I'll tell you something. The mayor's salary is $80,000, and he's got people under him in community development. The superintendent of schools is...
Actually, I'm actually surprised it's, if you pardon the term, that low, because Haverhill had a salary commission headed by former Mayor John Guerin, who found that the mayor's job in Haverhill should go up to $110,000, and that's going to happen in January.
Well, that's good. Because let's face it, it costs money to run for election. And that's why I feel that James DeJuga is going to be a good mayor. I really think he will be.
Because he's good at spending money? No,
well, no,
I'm kidding.
That he doesn't have to count on not an awful lot of people. Most of the people that contribute large amounts, Tim, are not radio stations, that's for sure.
No, right.
But they're developers, people who want to get a promotion, people who are want to get appointed to a job.
So you're saying he doesn't owe anything to anybody because he won't need those contributions?
Not really, he doesn't. And I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and I said, Jim, you have I couldn't call him Jim, I guess. I said, you have a great opportunity. And I said, you could be 5-time winner, what could I say? For example, he's been, as you said, reiterated, Commissioner of Public Safety, a senator.
He ran the Haverhill Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce, but I'm talking about political. Well, that's a political.
Well, I think sometimes that was.
I do too, especially in April. But anyway.
Oh, you're admitting it finally. Okay.
Well, I don't live in Haverhill, but I watch Haverhill very closely.
But you're one of our cheerleaders. I like that.
Yeah. You know, the thing is that I said to him, a term as a mayor at Methuen, and then a run for Congress, because Saunders has just announced the end of her career.
Oh no, that's an interesting hypothesis. Did you talk to him about that?
I posed that to him.
And he said he was going to run for Congress?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was my idea, you know.
Well, I mean, actually, I would say that he probably would have the recognition to take a job like that.
Valley, yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I find that local jobs, mayor, city council, don't tend to translate well into regional races because there's no name recognition. But I would think former Senator Jajuga has some name recognition.
Yes, he does. Yeah,
Interesting.
He has some.
We'll eventually have guests on the program who are looking at that office. Of course, we have a busy election year as it is, with a special state representative race here in Haverhill. But no, always good stuff. And maybe we'll have you on our telephone panel.
I really think that he's going to be a good mayor. I really do. He doesn't have to, as I said, and we'll test the hypotheses. We'll test that hypothesis that that he doesn't have to raise the kind of money, although he does have to raise money, but he doesn't have to raise the amount of money that ordinarily a mayoral candidate would raise, right?
No, that seems to make sense, although I have a funny feeling he's still going to raise a lot.
And he doesn't have to make the promises. He doesn't have to make the promises, and and he doesn't have to get involved with patronage and cronyism, because if he doesn't have to raise the money, and as I said, a very high percentage of the people that contribute, they always want something back.
No, it's pay for play, right?
Beginning of time in Merrimack Valley, I can remember teacher jobs being sold in Lawrence years and years ago. Yeah, you probably know about it too,
Well, pretty shocking actually, but it sounds like that a lot of things like that happened. I would hope that we have much more transparency these days.
Oh, every mayor that comes in talks about transparency. What is the definition of transparency? I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen what I would call transparent. I really haven't, Tim.
No, I agree with you. I mean, there are times I understand somewhat that you don't want to talk about a new developer because it might scare them away. But on the other hand, I don't think neighbors sometimes have enough time to prepare when something is coming to their...
Yeah, I'm working on this 40B project right now in Methuen, and not because I'm a snob zoner, but because it really isn't the right place to build 100 and what is it now? The number changed. I think it's 151 or 156.
And where will this be?
Pardon?
Where will this be?
Pleasant Valley Street.
Oh, okay.
It's what you call a corridor.
Yeah, my family on my father's side has lived there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But things certainly have changed.
The traffic impact is going to be increased significantly, but housing authorities, they never look at that too seriously. Traffic. They say that should be taken care of by the local community. But anyway, engineering-wise, it isn't a good site for it. It's a kettle hole. It's approximately 25 feet below Pleasant street a whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
But
watching
anyway,
this.
I really think that Chachuga is going to make a good. He's going to be a good mayor because he doesn't have all this. He doesn't have all this, political.
Do you think there'll be more medical marijuana stores now?
Pardon?
Do you think there'll be more medical marijuana stores?
I don't know. You're tough.
Well, I don't know. It's a valid issue.
You had to slip that in, huh?
So it's not like I'm going to hurt his chances.
No. Well, yeah, that's true too. But,
so it's all in good fun.
Yeah, that's not funny.
Well, he was a lobbyist. In case people don't know what I'm talking about, he was the lobbyist for healthy behavioral.
Hey, well, I know that, but I'm looking at the future really, and I'm hoping that I can hang on long enough. I was 89 in April.
Wow, my goodness! Happy birthday!
Thank you very much.
And first of all, we've heard you sing. You a 21-year-old.
I do?
Yes, you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You still have to do a concert for us sometime.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the voice that I used to have. I'll tell you. I almost made it real time. An opportunity to really sing big time. I'm sorry.
No, and you were competing against our local son George Katsaris, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he had, and in fact, he asked me to sing for him. To George. And I was loyal to Tony Baroni's band. I sang with that band 22 years, and I enjoyed every night that I did, and the money was awful good, Tim, too.
Oh, good. Well, okay, so you've given us quite an update on the mayoral race. Anything else happening that our listeners throughout the region would want to know about?
There is a very, very controversial appointment to a very good job in Methuen.
This the accountant position?
Oh, you got to go to the head of the class, Tim. Nothing gets by you, really.
Well, no, Methuen is one of the areas that WHAV covers, and it's. What do you think of that? We only got a few minutes left. What do you think of that? A city councilor who's going to get a city job.
To know what the truth is as to whether the job was advertised properly. It's kind of unique and that there was only one applicant, and I would like to see, that opened up again, and let the cards fall where they wish. If the candidate that's been more or less appointed has the experience and the education, I'm pretty sure he has a degree in business, but that doesn't make you an accountant, really.
No, and he's term limited, right?
Demonstrates you can add and subtract.
Well, he is going to be leaving the council either way. That's right?
Yeah, he's going to be leaving the council. Yeah. But,
interesting. I imagine the same rules apply. He couldn't have done both anyway, or taken two salaries.
To cap it, there is if you look at Channel 32, one particular phase of it, there are 3 jobs advertised. One is for a what they call a safe haven person. That's $15 hours. I think it's $20 some odd an hour. And then there's the a planner job, a big, kind of like in the 1100, 1200, and also an assistant civil engineer. And so, even as what I'm saying is, this job that was where this candidate was appointed to the police department is not a menial task. Really, it's a $64,000 job, whereas So when you look at what was posted on community TV, Channel 32, you see this job there, 15 hours a week, 20 some odd dollars. You say, how come the other job wasn't posted along with these? You know, doesn't make sense.
No, I
really.
see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So
yeah,
they were segmented.
But in all cases, the mayor's job at $80,000 is not enough money. This is a business. This is a corporation. None of these subordinates should be significantly more than the, well up in the 100,000 plus. Significantly more than.
No, and I think.
Gets.
Do you think?
Fair, it's not reasonable, and if the people continue to support that kind of a salary, then they're welcome to what they're going to get.
Do you think if the salary were higher, more candidates would have run?
Yes, I do, and more, and a number of candidates would. Sure.
Okay, because that was the issue in Haverhill, is that some councilors said they supported the pay increases because it would encourage qualified candidates to run. But I
think so. I really think so. Especially the mayor's job. I really think so. But in this case, there's probably, I don't know what's going to happen. There should be a salary study committee in Methuen, and they should come up with a recommendation for the mayor's job and their own. But
no, I would think next year's the year to do that because, frankly,
next year would be the year.
Well, because you don't want to do it during because you get.
No, that's right. You're right. It's political suicide.
And then usually the salary increase doesn't take effect until the next election, so that no one is voting on their own salary.
Hey, we need you in the city hall, Tim.
Well,
you know so much about the government and how it operates and
all the
nuances and.
I've just been around for a long time, watching things, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But thank you very much. And
Thank you.
And I'm afraid we're out of time. So you've got the last word. Anything?
I know. I was looking over some of the gifts that I got from WHAV. Thank you so much for the baseball card of the kid that I coach who got the Cy Young Award.
Oh, okay.
Pedrosian. Amongst the gifts that you gave me, or the cards, the baseball cards, I was looking at them today, and all of a sudden I saw Steve Pedrosian's card.
We still have more of those. I guess we should have another contest so that you can complete your collection. Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Really good to hear from you. All right.
Good to hear from you.
Take care. All right. Thank you. Bye. All right. So we're just about out of time here on the Open Mic Show. I'm not sure that we know who our guests are going to be next week, but usually always something interesting, community-oriented. But I'm still going to ask you to think about things for the next show, which is your feelings on, well, let's start with those, what we just discussed, pay raises, affordability as a tax, or whether you think we need more police and higher paid teachers. I don't know if you've been listening to WHAV's Back to School Countdown, but we do seem to be losing a number of administrators. Are we not paying enough? Is that a concern of yours? All of these things we can discuss next week right here on the Open Mic Show. So have a good week. We look forward to seeing you on the radio.
Open Mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic Show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic Show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.